time for the return of Indie Review. This week we're looking at TransSubversion. This is a 2D side-scrolling platformer with some fun twists. But does it hold up, or does this platformer fall flat on its metallic face? TransSubversion is a game that looks pretty smooth and it has some pretty crazy looking creatures as well as backgrounds and artwork. In high definition, the game looks sharp. The character, who is a scout robot in this game, looks bizarre but believable. The other creatures in the game are well animated and they all look as clean as the rest of the game. The most beautiful parts of this game are actually the loading screens, as they seem to have the greatest resolution, but the game still shows an impressive graphical prowess for an indie title. Graphically, it gets an 8.5. In the category of gameplay, this is where Subversion takes a bit of a tumble. While the basic controls are pretty standard and respond well, there are times where you'll find yourself using a double jump, and sometimes this doesn't even seem to be enough to get you up onto a ledge. This becomes increasingly annoying when you have nowhere to go and don't have the gun that lifts you up in the air. So you have to resort to holding the right thumbstick down, holding the right trigger to fire your gun downward, and try to double jump by pressing A twice, while also holding the left analog stick in whatever direction you need to go to get on the ledge. To do this, it requires holding the left thumbstick with your left index finger, your right thumbstick with your left thumb, your right trigger with your right index finger, and pressing the A button with your right thumb. It's a huge hassle, and I couldn't see a way around it at certain points. Because of that problem, the gameplay mechanic suffered, and it was frustrating in some moments. It got a 7.5. The sound of this game is pretty standard science fiction sounding. Lots of ambient noise with some slow techno tracks and weird space sounds that you hear in things like Star Trek or Star Wars. There seemed to also be some sounds that I couldn't understand where I had heard them, but they did sound either generic or as if from some other famous game. It was interesting. An 8.5. The story is about a scout robot who doesn't know what exactly he's doing or who he is, occasionally running into an assassin robot who keeps conveniently letting the scout go by turning around and thinking for too long. Every level gets progressively more difficult as you find your way through forests and other atmospheres looking for the exit. You use different objects such as movable blocks, gravity changers, and time blocks. It gets a 9 out of 10 for the corny dialogue between the scout and the assassin. TransSubversion has a fun concept and it does it fairly well. After going through the many different levels, I don't know how much more there's left to be desired in regards to wanting to play the game through again. It's long for an indie game and it can take a while sometimes to figure out a level, or sometimes it might get too frustrating. All in all, its replayability gets about an 8.5, giving TransSubversion an overall score of an 8.4 out of 10. Thanks for watching this edition of Indie Review. See you next time.